SOS Graphic Design does has a single unifying objective: to set your business apart. We are at your service. Call 313-342-2166. That's 313-342-2166, or online at www.sosgraphicdesigns.com.
Have you ever searched through a shelf full of greeting cards and still couldn't find the one that echoed how you felt? Well, search no more and call Designs by Deej. We offer birthday cards. Our cards are one-of-a-kind keepsake items that your recipient will want to place on their mantle with all of their other beautiful and treasured items. We also offer holiday cards. With Designs by Deej, no holiday will go unnoticed. Our unique greeting cards are sure to celebrate all holidays. We also have cards for special occasions. We are your one-stop shop for unique and three-dimensional handmade greeting cards for all occasions. Specializing, we also take custom orders. Every card is crafted with care and made with love. So call Designs by Deej today at 601-451-9536 or visit our website www.designsbydeej.com.
Attention, brothers and sisters, viewers and listeners, coming soon. Your Son of Man Speaks magazine digital subscription. Your digital subscription to the Son of Man Speaks magazine will also include our monthly e-newsletter, both delivered to your inbox. If you have any questions regarding the digital magazine subscription or digital newsletter, you may send an email to shabazprinting@thenewnationofislam.com. That's shabazprinting@thenewnationofislam.com. Or call 1-601-786-9788. That's 1-601-786-9788.
Pick up your copy of the Son of Man Speaks magazine today. With the Son of Man Speaks magazine, you'll receive automotive tips, wholesome recipes, financial advice, and most importantly, a true understanding of the Word of God. Get your copy of the Son of Man Speaks from these select locations: Sisters Braid 2, 18070 Mount Elliott, the Shell gas station, 13110 West 7 Mile Road. To get a subscription, call 601-786-9788. That's 601-786-9788. The Son of Man Speaks magazine, dedicated to becoming free indeed.
We're moving on now to the side. It would be like some partner in the sky.
Come check out the new Sisters Braid 2 hair braiding and natural hair care salon, located at 18070 Mount Elliott Street. Our new salon is spacious with adequate parking, Wi-Fi, and all brand new state-of-the-art salon equipment. Come meet your local hair braiders and natural hair care specialists, and check out our many hair care services, such as hair treatments, box braids, cornrows, tree braids, cabana twists, children's braids, natural twists, lock extensions, kinky twists, goddess locks, updos, full weaves, and more. Please feel free to visit us on the web at www.sistersbraid2.com or call 313-826-0498. Here at Sisters Braid 2, we offer exceptional care for exceptional hair. We look forward to seeing you. Sisters Braid 2 is a proud recipient of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
We would like to invite you to help support the efforts of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. Visit the website at www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. That's www.unityandrebuildingfund.com. We often hear how we need to work together to rebuild the city, and we're actually doing it. You can make online donations and click on links to track the progress of the Unity and Rebuilding Fund. And for more information, 313-868-0000 is a local number. Again, 313-868-0000. Support the Unity and Rebuilding Fund.
Make your online tithes, offerings, Donations, gifts to the Son of Man through Cash App. Make your payment to $ New Nation of Islam. That's $ New Nation of Islam. Or call 601-786-7056. 601-786-7056. Brothers and sisters, are you tired of reading the Holy Scripture and not really understanding what you read? And if you're reasonably sure, have you ever tested that what you feel you know with someone that has a different view than your own? Then let's talk with one another. Then let's reason with one another on a Scriptural Discussion with the Son of Man every Wednesday at 9 p.m., Friday at 9 p.m., and Sunday at 12 noon. On WHPR TV Detroit Live, 88.1 FM WHPR, and Comcast Cable. Why don't you call and discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning? You can call them live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. That's 313-868-4336, 313-868-0342, or 313-868-0351. And now, let's go live with a Scriptural Discussion with the Son of Man. On my shoulder, getting strong forever older.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again who are hungry and thirsty for the true understanding of the Word of God, the Word of Truth. I greet you all with the greeting words of peace. May Allah's Salam Alaikum. Before I get into the January 6th hearing, to let you finish hearing that, and the book by Mr. Jeffrey Berman, a brother called me the other day, and he wanted to question me. And as I've told so many of you, that, you know, I do all my teaching in class, where everybody that may have the question that you have, when I answer it for you, then they will get the answer, and I won't have to keep answering the same question over and over to people, because they got the answer through you. So, brother, if you are listening, I think he's in Washington State, and he's on the Pacific time. So you can press 5* on your keypad on your phone, and the brother will see your hand go up, and he will unmute you, and you can ask me all the questions you want, or present whatever arguments you want to present, and we can have a brotherly conversation. So, press 5* on your keypad, and the brother, he's in one of the 601 conference rooms, if he's here. That's those are the numbers I gave him. You know, and that also tells me whether or not you are serious or just trying to, you know, just want to shoot the breeze and decided to just call just to shoot the breeze. You know, people who really want to learn, they go to school. They don't meet a teacher out on the street and expect the teacher to hold a class for them. So, if you really want to learn from me, I've told you how to do so. I gave you the number. All you have to do is call into the classroom, and then you can get all of the answers that you want. But don't try to call me up for no private conversation about what I teach. That's not what I give you my number for. My number is basically for my followers who need counsel on something that they are that's troubling them. And I teach my followers, if I say so myself, I share enough wisdom with my followers till I hardly ever get a call for counsel, because they already know what to do. They think for themselves. I'm not here to do your thinking for you. I'm here to teach you how to think for yourself. And you pretty much know what I'm going to say a lot of times before you call me. You just want some reassurance. So it's a lot of people say, well, how you going to guide all of the people and counsel all of the people? You don't have to do a lot of counseling if you really teach it people. I mean, how many times did you feel you needed to call your teacher in grade school from 1 through 12, or even in college? How often did you feel the need that you needed to call that college professor or that high school or junior high school or elementary teacher when something was troubling you? You knew you would get it the next day in class or whatever. You understand? And so you didn't have to worry about the answers to questions that you had, because you can open up the class with your question, and the teacher will be glad to answer it for you. It's just like, why it's a kind of love-hate relationship with me and the people in this world. Those who love the truth, they are starting to love me. Those who hate the truth, they hate me. Do you understand? It don't make no difference what color they are. I can tell by the way people greet me a lot of times which one I'm talking to. It tickles me because I don't hate them back. I hate to meet them like that. But at any time they would be ready to repent, I'd be ready to forgive them. So that's I wouldn't want to carry that around. I'm glad I'm not like that. I can be angry with somebody, but I can't stay that way. And I'm glad, because I see what it do to people. Some people, if you cross them, man, you can forget it. They never forgive you. they never let it go. They just hold on to it. They just that poor in spirit that they have to hold on to anything that justifies their miserable condition and their miserable state of mind. See, your state of mind is what determines your state of, or the state of your condition. Most people don't know that. That's why a person can be very wealthy and yet poverty stricken. A good example, Howard Hughes. If money was the answer to all of your problems, he wouldn't have had no problems. I mean, I was looking at him, I felt so sorry for that man. Because he gave a lot to this country. To aviation, he was one of the greatest contributors to aviation. All these jumbo jets and all of this kind of stuff. He had a jumbo plane made out of wood. Wasn't it made out of wood? Huh? Yeah, the Spruce Goose. That thing had a wingspan. I think they said it was long as a football field. The wings of it from tip to tip. and was made out of wood. And Howard Hughes told them, he said, if it don't fly, I would leave America, or something like that. And it took off from the water. And I think he flew it one time. But he proved that he knew something about aerodynamics and aviation that other people just didn't get. You can make anything fly if you can put the force of the wind pushing against it in a way to use the wind to lift itself up against the force of gravity. I mean, look, man, look at these big old tanker airplanes that they refuel jets with. I don't know what they got now, but I'm sure they still call them tankers. But I mean, that thing weighs tons. These passenger liners weigh tons, and yet it take off just as smooth. And you would think it would. You would think that it was as light as a feather, but that thing is weighing tons. But Howard Hughes, poor man, he had mental issue. I told you, when the mind go, game over. It don't make no difference how much you have in the way of dollars if you lose all of your good senses. Do you understand? So, you know, we live in a reality created by Allah for peace. Most people, if you if you saw things the way they really look after seeing things through the eyes that you have, you would not be a happy person. I had a glimpse of myself during that when I was having that vision. I went to the restroom and went to wash my face, and I looked up in the mirror, and I didn't see myself like I look now. I saw what I saw was just a clay form in the mirror, rough, and I was surprised that it didn't frighten me, but it, you know, I realized that even that was teaching me a lesson. I'm going to create a mortal of sounding clay, of black mud fashioned in the shape. And that helped me to understand who I am also, you know. But that's what we are. We are sounding clay. We are talking clay. You know, I used to, you know, it's like when you look at the tub, when people that took baths more than showers. When I was growing up, people didn't have no shower and they had bathtubs. And when you get out the tub, there was always a gray ring around the tub. That was strange because my skin wasn't gray, you know. But I noticed stuff like that. It's clay. But anyway, so we got a lot to think about. You know, as we look at the creation around us. I remember I was looking at Babylon 5, and they had a character named Delin. It's a female character, and she was a member of a group called Membaris, and they was having a discussion about religion and about life after death and all of that kind of thing. When it came to her, she made a statement that we are, her character made the statement that we Membari look at ourselves as part of the universe, and we are the universe studying itself. And I thought to myself as I was listening at her, somebody been paying attention, because that's what we are. All of look at the elements. We are actually the elements housed in flesh and blood. Most people, they hear the words that we use, and the words that we use to describe ours. And people say, "Don't get emotional, man." What you mean emotional? Elemental motion. Keep yourself under control and don't let your elements get out of control. Do you understand? This is even the way I used to hear them talk about dead people. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But that was sufficient to teach me that iron to iron, nickel to nickel. That's us. It unites back with its own. Star Trek had a movie like that when Captain Kirk, they landed on a planet that was molten. It was just molten rock. Remember now, that's where all of these continents, that's where this continent came from. It came from molten rock. That's what you walking around on here. And all of these plants and animals and things was in that molten rock that we call lava. We don't call it lava inside of us, we call it blood. But in the earth, we call it lava. And I'm pretty sure the L stand for life. But I haven't really went off into the rest of it, science stuff on that. But anyway, that's why the more I think about where we came from, the more it makes sense to me that cremation is an ideal way to dispose of these farms when they can't hold this farm anymore. For it's not an insult to go back to fire when we came out of fire in the first place. so anyway, and that's a quick way to send everything back to where it belongs. And it's another way of making use of the earth instead of burying a bunch of dead bodies in there, and where you can't farm and stuff because people are superstitious and everything. So we can get rid of all these cemeteries. Anyway, I'm just spitballing. I ain't I'm just sharing some of my private thoughts with you. That's all. Did the brother raise his hand yet? Okay. Now I gave him 20 minutes. Now I know people are always late, but I gave you time to unmute your phone, press 5*, because I know we get late all the time. Press 5* on your keypad, and that will unmute you, brother. You ain't got to give your name and all that stuff. Just ask your questions or whatever. Who you are, and that don't make no difference to me. I'm more interested in what it is you want to ask me. So we have before I go back into January the 6th hearing, we're going to read chapter 6. Changes at the top. Now this is from Holding the Line by Jeffrey Berman. He was the chief attorney, district attorney at the Southern District of New York. He was the attorney general of that. Now, this is the state attorney general, I'm saying. Changes at the top. This is chapter 6. I would ultimately serve under 2 attorneys general and 1 acting attorney general. The first was Jeff Sessions. You notice, states have attorney generals, and state attorney generals serve under United States attorney generals. Do you understand? I mean, that's part of their chain of command. Now, the first attorney general that was the U.S. attorney general was, we should all remember him, Jeff Sessions. And he recused himself from that Russia investigation. The first was Jeff Sessions, who, as I have mentioned, was not deeply engaged in the matters being run out of Southern District of New York. That's what SDNY is. Out of SDNY. Or, to my knowledge, any of the other other districts. I think that was appropriate. Each case has its own history. It is appropriate to stay in your lane. You don't invite the United States Attorney General to oversee cases in this separate states, because that's why you have a state attorney general. Do you understand? In other words, don't try to micromanage the country. Delegate authority and get out of their way. Do you understand? If their authority is overstepped, then the United States Attorney General can step in and say, wait a minute, that's not lawful what you're doing to them, these people or that. Do you understand? It's a system of checks and balances. Huh? There you go. You notice chess is a game of kings, of rulers. Why? Because even a pawn can put a king in check. Do you understand? Yeah. You see, if you want to be a just ruler, you got to understand what's really going on. That's why, for instance, with certain pieces can only move at a certain way. It's like a knight, he's restricted to 2 up and 1 over, or 1 up and 2 over. But he can't go at no angle. Do you understand? Everyone's role is already laid out before they get on the board. Do you understand? And stay in your role. Okay. But anyway, it says, each case has its own history, intricacies, and pace. And for the AG to cherry pick which ones he wants to put his imprint on is not a good idea. The effort itself can be viewed as political. You know, what is the purpose of having? I'm saying that this ain't I ain't reading now. As you can see, I done stopped reading. What is the purpose of having a state attorney general if the U.S. attorney general gonna come in there and take over the prosecution or the or the justice system in the state? Well, if you go come in there and pick and choose, well, I'm gonna take this case here. Well, what that makes something look wrong. Are you disqualifying the attorney general of that state? You saying he's not qualified to take it? That he's not qualified to do it? How would you know sitting way over there and he's there in the state? Do you understand? There should be some it's like parents having rights over their children. The state don't have greater rights over the children than the parents do. The only time the state should intervene is if the children are in some type of imminent danger caused or being caused by the parent. Do you understand? Other than that, hands off. That's called freedom. You see, freedom don't mean freedom to go and do harm to people. Freedom to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I didn't hear you. Not mischief. So, okay. When Sessions stepped down on the day after the 2018 midterm elections, ending in an icy, month-long standoff with Trump over his recusal on Russia matters, the president named Matthew Whitaker as acting attorney general. Whitaker was a former tight end for the University of Iowa. He played in a Rose Bowl and a one-time Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate in Iowa. In 2004, President George W. Bush appointed him U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa. It was an unusual choice because Whitaker had no previous experience in law enforcement. But he reportedly had powerful supporters within Iowa's Republican establishment. In September 2017, Whitaker became Sessions' chief of staff. When he stepped up to become acting attorney general 14 months later, the New York Times headlined a profile of him, Matthew Whitaker, an attack dog with ambition beyond protecting Trump. You know, when you have a reputation like the New York Times and like CNN and MSNBC had as news, and the reporters that work for them, you really, by now, you don't know what you've missed by not having Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather and George Putnam And many of those people that took their job so seriously, and they wouldn't let you use them for propaganda. Do you understand? Just like the New York Times called Whitaker an attack dog. That's not a compliment. Do you understand? And so it says the story quoted Robert Rigg, a defense lawyer and Drake University law professor who was once involved in a case with Whitaker on the new acting attorney general's style. He practices law the way he played football, Rigg said. He's very aggressive. He's very passionate about what he believes in. You know, it's a good thing to be passionate and aggressive about what you believe in. But what you believe in, when it comes to the practice of law, the practice to become a government official, your beliefs become secondary. Your duty in that office is what you're supposed to be passionate about, not your private beliefs. Now, he didn't say private beliefs, he just said what he believed in. But you should never, in law, it's just like me. When I get up here to talk to you as what I am in this position, I'm the Son of Man. And I can't bring what you call animosity into this forum concerning what has happened to us during the rulership or during the time that white people were given to rule. I can't hold that against them. The messenger told me I couldn't. He said, Don, don't go blaming them for what by nature you put in them. He said, blame yourself for putting it in. I'm not blaming white people for 400 years of slavery. What I'm blaming you for is the time is out for that, and you want to keep doing these things. That's what I'm blaming you for. That's what you're going to be held accountable for. Now, you suit yourself. But do you notice that the way that I teach, even white people shut their mouth at me? And that's smart on his part. Because if he attacks me, he's shutting the door on his salvation. But if he changes, we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, we'll win at the last trumpet. I am the first and the last. Why? Who made the devil? God did. Who made the prophets? God did. So, the mind that was in the first man, who was that really? It was God. The mind that's in the last man, where did that come from? God. I am the first and the last. Okay. Now let's see here. Matthew Strong, a former chairman of the Iowa Republican Party, told the Times that Whitaker was known inside Republican circles as someone you want on your side in a fight. A couple of weeks after his appointment, Whitaker decided to pay us a visit. I figured he was looking to elevate his stature and show that he had the gravitas to become the permanent AG. He certainly had gravity on his side. The guy was 6 feet 4 inches and looked to be all muscle. He wanted a little of our reputation to rub off on him. But the qualities that SDNY is known for, independence, excellence, were precisely the ones that certain news outlets said he was lacking. Just days after he was elevated to acting AG, an exclusive story on the news site Vox reported that's VOX, reported that at the same time Whitaker was serving as chief of staff to Sessions, he was privately advising Trump on how to pressure the Justice Department to investigate his adversaries. The official purpose of Whitaker's trip to New York was to give a speech to what is called the Joint Terrorism Task Force, the JTTF. Predates that the JTTF predates the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, but after them, it was sort of supercharged. It is run by the FBI, but has people dedicated to it from dozens of federal and state law enforcement agencies. We have associate U.S. attorneys and investigators embedded there, as does the Eastern District. Whitaker asked me to set up a dinner the night before that would also include other U.S. attorneys from neighboring districts. If his goal was to upgrade his reputation and how he was viewed, my hope over those 2 days was to stay as far away from him as possible, because I didn't want to get tarred with what he was carrying. Ain't that something? It was all about consolidating everything with Donald Trump. Do you understand? These people was working fever pitch to overthrow your government. You know, when they say they was trying to overturn the election, no. What would that have amounted to if they had been successful? It would have been the overthrow of your government. See, your biggest problem is that you're scared. A lot of you all are scared to call a spade a spade. And when you call yourself putting a soft shoe to what should be a sledgehammer, you're going to wake up one morning and find yourself sitting up in jail on false charges by people who have now overthrown your government. And now they will do to you what you should have foreseen, and you should have been angry enough to see to it that they not only not be able to do it to you, but they can sit in jail for the rest of their life to think about what they was trying to do. End up soft talking these fools. Call them what they are. I've never seen a bully who, when you tried to reason with him softly, I've never seen one that didn't get louder and more boisterous. Never once. The only time he calmed himself down was when somebody told me, hey man, you keep on doing what you're doing, I'm going to put something on your ass. You better go look at Tombstone and see how bullies are supposed to be dealt with. They got a bully in there bullying people around till Wide Earth walked in there. And found out all he was a big mouth coward. That's all Donald Trump is, a big mouth coward. I peeped that when a man was standing up in one of his meetings and he heckled him a little and disagreed with him, and he tried to get them people to jump on that man. Cowards always, well, that's why they're called scorpions. He said, thou dost dwell among scorpions. That's in the book of Ezekiel. It says, son of man, be thou not afraid of their words nor their looks, though thou dost dwell among scorpions. You see, a scorpion, his head ain't gonna hurt you. The head ain't where the poison is. The head is the director of the thing that's got the poison in. The poison is in the tail. And you know, tail means to follow. You understand? Put a tail on it. I've seen them cops and robbers movies, and they taught me what tails is. And they say, put a tail on it. And Donald Trump's tails are full of poison, full of lies. They go on QAnon and all of this stuff and fill themselves up with lies. And then he tell them, a man out there disagreeing with him in one of his meetings, and he tells the people, he ought to be carried out of here. I'll pay your feet. No, tell him what they should have told him. I tell you what, won't you come down off of that podium there, and you do to him what you're telling us to do. You coward. That's the way cowards do. They get a gang of people to come jump on one man. A brave man would never let you tell him to go and beat up, get a crowd together, go beat up somebody. Say, man, I'm out of here. No. This fool gonna get somebody killed on a humbug. Thought he was a very stable genius. And you mean you can't deal with a heckler? Let me see your genius. Let me see you. Look at me when people used to come in here call themselves heckling me. People have came in my meetings and talk crazy to me. I didn't have my followers go beat up nobody. Hell, if you couldn't stand people to disagree with you, you shouldn't be up there. What they say? If you can't stand the heat, stay out the kitchen. Is that right? You know, I've checked my own self. I'm surrounded by my followers and letting somebody get on my nerves, and I get into it with them, knowing that them brothers wasn't going to let me get into it with nobody. I apologized to him. I didn't try to wait on him to apologize. I'm sorry, brother. I shouldn't have did that. You know, I took low. No, you do not get in a position where you have the power and then abuse people that have none compared to yours. You just don't do that. Do nothing to no man that you would not appreciate being done to you. That's how I know all of them is some unjust, hateful devils, cowards. Or they wouldn't, there ain't no way they'd support a man like Donald Trump. Just no way. A lying coward. And what's name called him that? A sniveling coward. And then took it back. Old Ted Cruz with his sorry self. But anyway, I got us a place for dinner. I'm back reading again. I got us a place for dinner on the west side of Manhattan that few people had ever heard of. It was a decent restaurant, a steakhouse, but I didn't want to be seen. I think there were half a dozen of us, all men in suits. We didn't have a private room, but they knew who we were and separated us, which wasn't difficult because there weren't many other people in there. But midway through our dinner, a photographer was allowed into the restaurant. He walked up to our table. Whitaker's PR people had obviously arranged this. And at least one of the photos appeared in a media outlet the next day. I figured if he's making me go to dinner, I'll try to get something out of it. Well, that's what I did at school. I think me and Mr. Bierman, we could have a good conversation together because my parents made me go to school, so I just decided I just well learn how to read and write and do all of that stuff. I didn't want to go there, but anyway, at that point in time, the Hall Bank case, the case of the Turkish financial institution involved in violating the Iran sanctions, was our top priority. Because of the nature of the case and the geopolitical elements involved, we needed to consult with Main Justice on it. The State Department had an interest in the trajectory of the case, as did Treasury. Put the letter up there, brother. But Hall Bank's counsel was slow walking every request we made. They were acting as if they held all the cards and were thinking you hold the cards, and we're thinking you hold the cards. No, you don't. That's not what the Southern District is accustomed to. So I said to Whitaker that night, we want to indict Hall Bank. We've run out of patience, and we have a case we can make. He said to stand down. Just wait until we get more input from Treasury and State. I didn't have any idea where he had gained knowledge of this case or whom he might be taking his cues from. I said, fine, I get the message. But I didn't want to stand down for long. I write in much more detail about the Hall Bank case in a chapter later in this book. The next morning, Whitaker asked me to introduce him before his talk at the JTTF event. I'm thinking, what am I going to say? I kept it short, something along the lines of, please join me in welcoming the new acting Attorney General, who was formerly the U.S. Attorney in Iowa. Let's give him a warm welcome. That was enough. He see, what he wanted was him to build him up. Do you understand? But Jeffrey, see, this man, you can tell what kind of circles people run in by, when you first meet them, by how they come at you. See, Whitaker is used to that pat on the back, slap on the back. You go along with me and I'll go along with you stuff. That's not how the attorneys at the, obviously, how the attorneys at the SDNY conduct themselves. This ain't no good old boy thing. This is about law. Do you understand? Friendship is friendship. And friendship ain't got nothing to do. And kinship, they ain't got nothing to do with justice. Justice is blind. You see? Justice just want to know, what do you have any exculpatory evidence that says you're not guilty? And if you don't, then I don't care who you are. Do you understand? Okay. And it says, and then I quickly exited stage left. And I quickly exited stage left and gave him a handshake out of sight of any cameras. Yeah, because they would have made that look like it was something that it wasn't. Do you understand? So it says, Whitaker did not last long. In early December 2018, Trump nominated William Pellman Barr to be the nation's 85th Attorney General. Barr had also been the nation's 77th AG in the administration of George H.W. Bush. In one marker of how much more polarized our politics have become, Barr's first confirmation hearing in 1991 was described as at the time as placid. He was just a moment. Placid. Placid. Undisturbed by tumult or disorder, calm or quiet. So it was very calm and quiet when he was nominated, and he, as I said, it was placid. He was approved unanimously by the Senate Judiciary Committee, then confirmed by the full Senate in a voice vote. When Barr's second nomination went before the Senate early in 2019, he was confirmed, but in a roll call vote with the 54-45 count mostly breaking down along party lines. I was elated that we were getting somebody to come in to take Whitaker's spot, and I had high hopes. The new boss was experienced and highly intelligent. He had a reputation as an institutionalist, someone who would respect the traditions and norms of the department. Most of all, I believed Barr would be a steady hand in turbulent times. I sent him a handwritten note relating that in his first tour of duty, he had signed my certificate when I started out as a young associate U.S. attorney. I said he had never had an opportunity, we had never had an opportunity to meet, but I was looking forward to that soon. I added that he was just what the doctor ordered. Like so many other establishment Republicans, I thought he would clean things up at DOJ and respect the rule of law. He thought he would. The one time that Barr met with me in my personal office at the Southern District involved an uncomfortable moment, and it was telling. It happened after he noticed a photo on the wall of me with Lawrence Walsh, the independent counsel in the Iran-Contra affair. It was signed, "Thank you, Jeff, for all your good work." Walsh indicted Caspar Weinberger, a Secretary of Defense during the Reagan administration, in June 1992 on charges related to the secret flow of arms to the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. He added another charge in late October of that year, on the Friday before George H.W. Bush would lose his election bid to Bill Clinton. Bush was vice president when the events being investigated took place. The new indictment and the news it generated incensed Bush's inner circle, who felt it stopped momentum he was gaining against Clinton. I did not agree with the timing of the second indictment. I was no longer working for Walsh by then. You don't take any action that would affect an election within 60 days of that election, absent exceptional circumstances. That's the rule of thumb. 4 days later, Bush lost the election pretty soundly. The Electoral College count was 370 to 168. So it's pretty hard to argue that Walsh cost him a second term. I had, and especially with who he was running against. I mean, Bill Clinton was an excellent communicator, brother. And he was a savvy politician. You know, I had an abiding respect for Walsh and was proud of the work I did for his office. Barr despised everything about the Iran-Contra probe, and I assume he didn't think much of Walsh either, who died in 2014 at 102. Bush pardoned Weinberger and 5 others implicated in this scandal in the waning weeks of his presidency. It wiped away 6 years of the independent counsel's work. In a single stroke, one news account said Mr. Bush swept away 1 conviction, 3 guilty pleas, and 2 pending cases, virtually decapitating what was left of Mr. Walsh's effort. Bush consulted with his Justice Department on pardons, which is how it is supposed to work. His Attorney General was Bill Barr. In a 2001 interview for an oral history project at the Miller Center at the University of Virginia, which focuses on the presidency and political history, Barr explained his thinking at the time. I asked some of my staff to look into the indictment that was brought, and also some of the other people I felt had been unjustly treated, and whether they felt that they would have been treated this way under standard department guidelines. I don't remember going through the pardon office, but I did ask some of the seasoned professionals around the department about this. Asked them to look into it. Based on those discussions, I went over and told the president I thought he should not only pardon Caspar Weinberger, but while he was at it, he should pardon about 5 others. There were some people arguing just for Weinberger, and I said no. In for a penny, in for a pound. That shows you what kind of attorney general he was. He was a sorry, the kind that if you are a friend, it don't matter because you broke the law. Do you understand? See, but the problem with that is when somebody get in there that ain't your friend and start pardoning their friends, then you're going to cry foul. You understand? So that's the road that you never want the Justice Department of your country to take if you want to keep your republic. Because once you know what a slippery slope is? A slippery slope is a mountain of bananas. As in Banana Republic. Yeah. You get enough peeling away, pretty soon you ain't got no republic. Is there anybody who try to stand up gonna fall down? Do you understand? Because once you get, it's like getting termites all inside the wood in your house. Once they all inside the wood, all the studs full of them and everything, all the termite pest control in the world ain't gonna get it because you too late. Do you understand? In for a penny, in for a pound. That was his response. William Barr. That's what people generally say when they're doing something that they can't really justify. That day in my office, Barr fixed his gaze on the picture of Walsh and me. He looked at it for almost a minute straight without saying a word. Just stared with a sour look on his face. It was awkward as hell. I'm just standing there waiting for our meeting to start and thinking to myself, you know what, Jeff? Maybe you should have taken the picture down before he got here. It was more than past history or a lack of personal chemistry that separated me from Barr. We had a philosophical divide. His expansive views on presidential power and his belief in what is known as the unitary executive theory were well known and arguably well within the Republican and conservative mainstream. He expounded on them in 2019 while speaking at a Federalist Society event. Quote, I deeply admire the American presidency as a political and constitutional institution, he said. Quote, I believe it is one of the greatest and remarkable innovations in our Constitution and has been one of the most successful features of the Constitution in protecting the liberties of the American people. More than any other branch, it has fulfilled the expectations of the framers. Quote, unfortunately, over the past several decades, we have seen steady encroachment on presidential authority by the other branches of government. This process, I think, has substantially weakened the functioning of the executive branch to the detriment of the nation. He continued later in his lecture, quote, I am concerned that the deck has become stacked against the executive. More and more, the president's ability to act in areas in which he has discretion has become smothered by the encroachments of the other branches. You know what's untenable here? You know, when you make statements as broad as he's making there, that somehow the president's powers are being gradually eroded away, every time you make a statement, you should give an example. He gave no examples yet. You see, he's making a speech trying to appeal to emotions and appealing to he's putting on a show. Do you understand? He does not respect the president, and he does not respect the government of America, because now he's speaking ill against the other two branches of government. Well, what are they doing? Someone should have stopped him and asked him. So you're saying the legislative branch and the judiciary are getting together to take away the power of the president? Is that what you're accusing them of? So they are in a conspiracy against the president, the chief executive. Are they in a conspiracy against the executive branch? So now the legislature and the judiciary are in a conspiracy. They done consolidated already. Is that what you're saying? See, that's the way you do a fat liar like him. You know why they're spending so much time talking about the next election will be fraud? It'll be fraud. You remember the boy who cried wolf? When the wolf actually came, nobody believed him, huh? So they trying to set it up so when they planning on trying to steal the election. And if they're successful and the Democrats say that it was fraud involved, then what will their cry be then? You just saying that because that's what we said last time. Do you understand? But in reality, they the first one that even brought up the subject of fraud. Well, nobody ever accusing the elections of the United States of being fraudulent. Donald Trump brought that in. The liar in chief. Yeah. Anyway, wake up. What is the point of telling somebody to wake up and they go right back to sleep? Okay. If I'm in the car with somebody driving and I see them doing, I say, hey, wake up, man. And as a matter of fact, pull over. You know, always somebody needs to stay woke with the driver. The driver watching the road, but who watching the driver? He's supposed to be watching the road. Is that right? Well, who watching him? Oh, okay. All right. So let's see here. There were critics, among them some lawyers who worked in prior Republican administrations, who felt that Barr soft-pedaled his views during the confirmation process and later acted in extreme ways on Trump's behalf. One of them was Donald Ayre, a highly regarded lawyer who served in the administration of Ronald Reagan and George H.W. Bush. In a 2019 essay in The Atlantic, Ayer wrote, in securing his confirmation as Attorney General, Barr successfully used his prior service as Attorney General in the by-the-book norm following administration of George H.W. Bush to present himself as a mature adult dedicated to the rule of law who could be expected to hold the Trump administration to established legal rules. Having known Barr for 4 decades, including preceding him as Deputy Attorney General in the Bush administration, I knew him to be a fierce advocate of unchecked presidential power. So my own hopes were outweighed by skepticism that this would come true. Ayer's piece appeared after the release of the Mueller report, which many believed Barr had both preempted and misrepresented. Ayer continued, quote, but the first few months of his current tenure, and in particular his handling of the Mueller report, suggests something very different, that he is using the office he holds to advance his extraordinary lifetime project of assigning unchecked power to the president. In other words, he's trying to turn the presidency into a dictatorship. You understand? Because one of the major things about presidents, they already have awesome power, because in order to veto something that the president does, they need 3/4 of Congress to go along with it. Do you understand? I mean, if he can't convince a third of the people in Congress that what he's doing is right, and you know, generally half of them is his own party. Do you hear me? And if he can't convince them that he's right, they have to be able to check him. Huh? All right. But anyway, much of this political back and forth was, it's just like people, they think that I don't, well, what about you? Who checks you? You got the Holy Bible and you got the Holy Quran. How many times have I told you to look in there and see what you can find that condemns what I'm saying or doing? Hadn't been for me, you wouldn't even understand what you were reading. And I've been giving you understanding of it, which is making you able, if you want to check me. You know, when you're telling the truth, it don't make no difference who's listening. And it don't make no difference when you're doing what is right. It don't make no difference who's watching. Do you understand? But in certain things, even I have a right to privacy, as every other human being does. Do you understand? That's why I told you, you can ask me whatever you want. That don't mean that I got to answer you. I know how to say that's none of your business. Do you understand? Much of this political back and forth was beyond the scope of my concerns in the Southern District. I was a working prosecutor, and my focus was to lead the dedicated and hardworking public servants under me who came into work every day and busted their asses. My political views and whatever my thoughts might have been on Barr's high-altitude insights into the Constitution were beside the point. But see, he knew how to stay in his lane. You understand? He didn't say that didn't trouble him, but he had, in so many words, he had just other things he was concerned with, his district and what he was doing. But the fact was, Barr's top-down unitary theories of power extended to how he viewed himself, how he ran the Justice Department. I'll show you an example of that. You notice, if he elevates Donald Trump, he's automatically elevating himself. Do you understand? It's like Farrakhan. He run around here to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is the exalted Christ. Well, if he can move the messenger out of the position of being the messenger, I remember when the messenger, he would introduce himself. He said, "I'm just a messenger. I have a message for you from the Lord of the worlds." Farrakhan, he turned around, and when the messenger went in a boat, he finally got around to moving the messenger out of the position of messenger. He's the exalted Christ now. Do you understand? Which leaves, you heard people in the background over the past few years referring to Farrakhan as dear holy apostle. Do you understand? Because that position is vacant now that he done elevated the messenger to the exalted Christ, you see. And so, you know, crooks are like that. You know, and see, now that what he was trying to do with Donald Trump didn't work, see, he was sealing his future. What if Donald had been successful at becoming president for life? Who would have been attorney general for life? You see how it goes? All tyrants. Did you ever see Wise Guy? It was a series on called Wise Guy, and a long time ago. But anyway, this male prophet and was the crook, and the wise guy was an undercover agent, and they was talking about male prophet and about the fella who was with him. He said, all tyrants have a greedy right hand. You see, a right hand man he wants to be that close, so he'd be next in line to, you know, he greedy for power. And that's William Barr. Do you understand? Donald Trump, the old tyrant, had a greedy right hand man, William Barr. They never trust William Barr ever again. Never entrust him. Don't entrust him to be Attorney General at a dog kennel. I mean, I'm just telling you the truth. He's not fit to be over anything. And if he come in here and can hold a conversation with me, I'll take it back. If he can answer my questions and prove that I've made a mistake in my judgment of him. And I will give him $50,000. You see, in order to talk about an imperial presidency, you have to throw the Declaration of Independence away. The very preamble to the Constitution don't start off, I, the president. It starts off, we, the people. The power that was given to the president was not even his. It's the people's. Well, if the people give it and can't take it, then something is wrong. I didn't hear you. And it was on loan to him. And it was on loan to him to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. when he ceases to use the power that the people gave him to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. And every time, how do you defend the Constitution of the United States? You defend the rights of the people that the Constitution gave them. Anyway, if Barr believed that the president could properly instruct the DOJ to take actions involving specific individuals, including his friends and enemies, that was a concern of mine. You see, early in 2020, top Justice Department officials overruled the prosecution team in the case of Roger Stone, a longtime friend and associate of Donald Trump's, and recommended a more lenient sentence for crimes he committed to protect the president. This was another situation where the president's grievances and wishes could easily be discerned. Barr could say, I quote, "I don't take orders from above regarding sentencing," or, quote, "I don't talk to the president about it." But he didn't need to in order to know that Trump was enraged at what he considered the unfair treatment of Stone. In protest, 3 of the prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia withdrew from the case. A 4th quit the office entirely. Barr clearly had this uprising in mind in remarks he later made at a Constitution Day event at Hillsdale College in Michigan. Quote, "Name one successful organization where the lowest level employees' decisions are deemed sacrosanct." There aren't any, he said. Letting the most junior members set the agenda might be a good philosophy for a Montessori preschool, but it's no way to run a federal agency. Well, that's just a bunch of BS. Because when it comes to, understand something, when it comes to law is truth. And it's called common sense law. When you meet someone that is genius in math, does it make any difference how long they have been studying math when you find out that they better at it than you? Does their age in it mean anything? What field do you know of when it is based on your understanding and your intellect, like the sciences and whatnot? People that are gifted and knowledgeable. It's just like me. You can't talk to me for an hour on a subject that I don't know nothing about. If you talk to me about it, you will soon see that I can look deeper into the subject than you do. It has nothing to do with how long you've been in it. And for him to even put an argument like that forth tells you that he's not interested in practicing law. He's interested in practicing the buddy system. Do you understand? Is that your best excuse? That's what people used to come to me with. Well, how long was you in the nation? How long had you been? Remember, Geno Jennings asked me that. How long you when did you come in the nation? And I told him I came in 1973. So you was under the messenger, what, about 2 years? I said, yeah, about 2 years. And I knew where he was getting at, but he didn't know who he was talking to. Do you understand? And so I just, went along with him, and he started getting mad, and I just stayed calm. And he started getting mad, getting boisterous and stuff. This old silly self. But anyway, look, man, what Barr said didn't make a bit of sense to my underlings. When a man been to law school and has studied law and his grasp of it ain't necessarily inferior to yours. Do you understand? But anyway, the people who worked for me at Southern District of New York generally came from elite law schools. Now, Mr. Bierman is saying this. They graduated top of their class. Most had clerked in the federal court system, some for Supreme Court justices. In terms of young legal talent, they were the best of the best. The associate U.S. attorneys in districts throughout the country were similarly high achieving. For Barr to have compared them to preschoolers was both outrageous and revealing. As I said, Barr he wasn't practicing law when he became Attorney General. He was practicing the buddy system, not the judicial system. Do you understand? There you go. You see, he didn't use the law as a hammer for justice. You notice they call justice a hammer. Why? Because what do you use hammers for? That's a carpenter's tool, isn't it? He uses it to do what? Build structures. And you hit nails with hammers. How many times did you hear lawyers or people say, he nailed it that time? He nailed it. With what? A hammer. Justice is truth. When you bring truth into any situation, you are bringing justice in there. Now, if that truth applies, if it is applied properly, it will either defend the person on trial, or it will be nails in their coffin. It will condemn them. That's why you are asked, is the testimony that you are about to give, do you swear that it is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Huh? You see, so, it is much to be understood. You live in a world that you didn't have the slightest clue to what was really going on. That's why so many of you are being lost now. That's why you're in a state of confusion, and you befriending people who don't care nothing about you, and you hate people who would try to help you. You have been justified to be nothing but a fool if you are educated in this world. And I pity you. No. That's when Mr. T said, pity the fool. Yeah. So that was chapter 6. We're going to chapter 7 next time we come on. let's get to this this hearing. Let's see here.
And to push forward it's happened over and over again. And our committee's report will document it. Purposeful lies made in public directly at odds with what Donald Trump communicated. Again, each back their country. On December 19th, President Trump first told his supporters to come to Washington. In this and numerous other tweets, he fraudulently and repeatedly promoted January 6th as the day Americans could come and change the election outcome. For weeks, President Trump worked with others to plan the rally, intending all along that he would send an assembled crowd of angry supporters to the Capitol after his speech on their lips on January 6th.
Now, this is from Kylie Kramer. It's a text from her. And it's Kramer, and then it's got Lindell text excerpt. This stays only between us. We are having a second stage at the Supreme Court again after the ellipse. POTUS is going to have us march there to the Capitol. It cannot get out about the second stage because people will try and set up another and sabotage it. It can also not get out about the march because I will be in trouble with the National Park Service and all the agencies. But POTUS is going to just call for it unexpectedly. See, it was all planned. Do you understand? See, when that march that they was doing at the Capitol, they hadn't told the people about that when they set up that that gathering. They was just supposed to be there at the ellipse. And now she's saying that don't let this get out, but we're gonna march up to the Capitol. POTUS gonna just unexpectedly call it. But it wasn't unexpected by the people that they applied for the permit from, but not unexpected by them who had schemed to do it. Do you understand? Okay.
A text message that one rally organizer sent on January 4th. In part, it reads that, quote, POTUS is going to have us march there / the Capitol, and POTUS is going to just call for it unexpectedly. Again,
So it couldn't be unexpectedly by her because she knows about it. And the others that she texting to know about it. Well, who was it unexpected by? By the agencies who issue permits to do that. To them, it was supposed to look like the crowd like he just did it off the cuff. Because they didn't they wanted as few security officers and police and all that. They wanted as few of them there as possible for what they had planned. Do you understand? See, them Oath Keepers that said, and the Proud Boys, they was claiming that they was going to come there in force with arms and outnumber the police so they couldn't be stopped. Remember that? Okay. Now, let's get over here to Adam Schiff.
Proud. Tens of thousands of people were outside the rally site. Young woman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Schiff, for an opening statement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In our past hearings, you have seen direct evidence that President Trump sent a crowd of his supporters to the Capitol on January 6th, knowing they were armed and angry. This was the last, most desperate, and dangerous prong of his plan to disrupt the joint session and prevent the orderly transition of power. On the morning of the 6th, the Secret Service was at the Ellipse, screening the members of the crowd as they entered the rally site. And they noticed something significant about the crowd. Tens of thousands of people were outside the rally site, but did not want to go through the magnetometers, the metal detectors that were used to screen for dangerous weapons. Since our last hearings, the Select Committee has received greater cooperation from the Secret Service. Nevertheless, the Secret Service text messages from this period were erased in the days and months following the attack on the Capitol, even though documents and materials related to January 6th had already been requested by the Department of Justice and Congress. But we were able to obtain nearly 1 million emails, recordings, and other electronic records from the Secret Service. Over the month of August, the Select Committee began its review of hundreds of thousands of pages and multiple hours of that material, providing substantial new evidence about what happened on January 6th and the days leading up to it. That review continues. What you're about to hear is just a sample of the new and relevant evidence that we have received. Mounting evidence before January 6th predicted violence, and not just violence generally, but violence directed at the Capitol. Intelligence about this risk was directly available to the U.S. Secret Service and others in the White House in advance of the Ellipse speech, in advance of the march to the Capitol. The committee has shown evidence that President Trump was aware of the risk of violence. The FBI, U.S. Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police, and other agencies all gathered and disseminated intelligence suggesting the possibility of violence at the Capitol prior to the riot. We're now going to show you just a sample of the evidence we have received. Days before January 6th, the President's senior advisors at the Department of Justice and FBI, for example, received an intelligence summary that included material indicating that certain people traveling to Washington were making plans to attack the Capitol. This summary noted online calls to occupy federal buildings, rhetoric about invading the Capitol building, and plans to arm themselves and to engage in political violence at the event. Other agencies were also hearing predictions suggesting possible violence at the Capitol. On a call with President Trump's White House National Security Staff in early January 2021, Deputy Secretary of Defense David Norquist had warned about the potential that the Capitol would be the target of the attack. Here's General Mark Milley, who was also present for this call, describing Deputy Secretary Norquist's warning.
So during these calls, I only remember
I've slowed the video down so that you could hear clearly what's being said. You know, he wasn't talking unusually fast, no way. But I want to make sure that everybody hears what's being said. Do you understand? You see, the evidence is everywhere that these people were conspiring to overthrow the government. I think they call it a coup d'etat when it's a bloodless coup. Do you understand? When you overthrow the government and trick the people, do it in such a way that the people don't know that their government has been overthrown. In degrees, kind of like the old saying about you put a frog in hot water, he'll leap out. Put him in cool water and gradually turn up the heat, he'll cook to death because he won't know when to jump out. You see? Look how the Republicans and Democrats used to be like Joe Biden and John McCain. I mean, they wasn't the only two. They used to be like, even with John Boehner and you could tell that John Boehner and and Barack Obama had spent some time with each other as friends. But the fact of the matter is that go way back. That Democrats and Republicans, they've known that Ted Kennedy had Republican friends that he ate lunch with, and they laughed and joked with each other about it. And then they get out on the floor and argue with each other. Then they go have lunch together again. But they wanted what was best for their country. That has been taken from you, and you didn't even see it. But it's gone now. Put him in the cool water and turn the fire up gradually, and he'll cook to death because he won't know when to jump out. Do you understand? You made yourself a great nation by walking away from injustice towards justice. You started off in slavery, a civilization that was trying to build itself up by injustice, enslaving people, until it happened to you. Well, when did it happen to them? King George. You got sick and tired of doing all the work and King George getting all the benefit. You get no credit. You pay all these taxes and stuff. And all you were was a colony of England. And they was taxing you heavy. And you didn't have no representation up there at all and had no say-so in how things are run. And you didn't like that. And you declared war. And you said taxation without representation is tyranny. Out of your own mouth came your condemnation. And it's still condemning you today. At least those of you who are trying to now do to me and my people what you went to war against England to keep them from doing to you. And if you're trying to provoke us into some kind of civil war with you, that's not the prophecy. I'm not prophesied to have to fight you and shed blood in order to be free. This is called New Jerusalem. Jerusalem means founded in peace, not founded through civil war or revolutionary war. Oh, I'm making war, all right. But I'm making war in righteousness. First thing I had to do was shut all of your religions down. I done did that. You still going to church, you still going to mosques and synagogues and all these things. But you know when you go up there, you ain't going to nothing. At least the people that's been paying attention, they know you ain't going to nothing. Because if you thought you was going to something, you'd have been in here telling me that you do have true religion and that the religion that you have is based on what's written in the Holy Bible and the Holy Quran, and you can prove it. But I know you can't prove it because the Bible and the Holy Quran is what ordained me. And mine ain't yours. My religion is not yours. My religion is Allah's religion. And that I can prove. Anybody typing anything? See, so, you know, I mean, the judgment gonna stand. You see. So now let's listen to Mr. Schiff some more.
Northwest said during one of these calls, the greatest threat is the direct assault on the Capitol. I'll never forget it.
This email, for example, was an alert that the Secret Service received on December 24th with the heading, "Armed and Ready, Mr. President." According to the intelligence, multiple users online were targeting members of Congress, instructing others to march into the chambers on January.
Now think about that statement. You know how Donald Trump talked to people? He talked through tweets. Well, they was tweeting back, "Armed and ready, Mr. President." But it wasn't the Army. It wasn't the Navy. It wasn't the Air Force or the Marine Corps. It was these little gangs out there telling the president that they were armed and ready for his instructions. I ain't forgotten. You ain't forgot either. You want to play like you forgot that he told them to stand down, stand back, and stand ready. Stay ready. Basically. Huh? Ready for what? Armed and ready, Mr. President. That's what they told him. Now, if he's really the president and considers himself the president, he already got the armed forces of the United States that stay ready for his instructions. I would have expected him to tell them who was out there talking about they armed and ready, say, "Hey, wait a minute, don't you do that. You get yourself hurt. I got this. I don't need you. I got generals, I got the Army, I got the Navy, I got the Air Force, I got the Marine Corps." But he didn't have none of them on his side. Or they lefties too. You know what their real hope is? To start something and then people in the services choose, a lot of them choose sides with them and decide to fight against the United States. You know they weren't fool enough to think they could fight against the armed forces of the United States. No, they figure after to get started, they got some allies in the services that would join with them. And if they that stupid to join with a fool like Donald Trump, well, I'm going to tell you something. You better remember how this thing got set up. Did you honestly think that God set this up and forgot about it? Is that what you're thinking? Living proof that he ain't forgot about it is standing here talking to you, boy. I'm Abraham's seed. Listen to the substantive knowledge that's coming out of me. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterward shall they come out with great substance. Am I talking foolishness? Come in here and tell me I'm talking foolishness. And stay on the phone. Told you I was going to shut your mouth.
January 6th, and make sure they know who to fear. In this report, received on December 26th, the Secret Service Field Office relayed a tip that had been received by the FBI. According to the source of the tip, the Proud Boys plan to march armed into D.C. They think that they will have a large enough group to march into D.C. armed, the source reported, and will outnumber the police so they can't be stopped. The source went on to say, their plan is to literally kill people. Please take this tip seriously and investigate further. The source also made clear that the Proud Boys had detailed their plans on multiple websites, like the Donald.win. Let's pause here. The Secret Service had advance information more than 10 days beforehand regarding the Proud Boys' planning for January 6th. We know now, of course, that the Proud Boys and others did lead the assault on our Capitol building. On December 31st, agents circulated intelligence reports that President Trump's supporters have proposed a movement to occupy Capitol Hill. In particular, they flagged spikes in violent hashtags like "We Are the Storm," 1776 Rebel, and Occupy Capitals. On January 5th, a Secret Service open source unit flagged a social media account on the Donald.win that threatened to bring a sniper rifle to a rally on January 6th. The user also posted a picture of a handgun and rifle with the caption, "Sunday Gun Day, providing Overwatch January 6th will be wild." Later, on the evening of January 5th, the Secret Service learned during an FBI briefing that right-wing groups were establishing armed QRFs, or Quick Reaction Forces, readying to deploy for January 6th. Groups like the Oath Keepers were standing by at the ready should POTUS request assistance. By invoking the Insurrection Act, agents were informed. As we all know now, the Oath Keepers did play a specific role on January 6th and had stashed weapons in Virginia for further violence that evening. Also on that day, the Secret Service was readying its security precautions for the President's speech at the ellipse the next day. A Secret Service deputy chief instructed agents to add certain objects to the list of items that would be prohibited at the rally site, including ballistic vests, tactical vests, armored or not, and ballistic helmets. By the morning of January 6th, it was clear that the Secret Service anticipated violence. It felt like the calm before the storm, one agent predicted in a Protective Intelligence Division chat group. Another remarked how agents were watching the crazies on livestream. By 9:09 that morning, the Secret Service could also see that many rally-goers were assembled outside the security perimeter. One agent emailed, possibly because they have stuff that couldn't come through, would probably be an issue with this crowd, just a thought. By 9:30 that morning, agents reported more than 25,000 people outside the rally site. An hour later, the Secret Service reported that the crowd was on the mall watching, but not in line. The head of the President's Secret Service Protective Detail, Robert Engel, was specifically aware of the large crowds outside the magnetometers. He passed that information along to Tony Ornata, who worked for Mark Meadows in the Chief of Staff's office. The documents we obtained from the Secret Service make clear that the crowd outside the magnetometers was armed, and the agents knew it. Take a look at what they were seeing and hearing on the ground. One report from the rally site at 7:58 a.m. said, some members of the crowd are wearing ballistic helmets, body armor, carrying radio equipment, and military-grade backpacks. Another, from 9:30 a.m., said that there were possibly OC spray, meaning pepper spray, and or plastic riot shields. At 11:23 a.m., agents also reported possible armed individuals, one with a Glock, one with a rifle. Over the next hour, agents reported possible man with a gun reported, confirmed pistol on hip located in a tree, and one detained at 14th and I Street Northwest. Individual had an assault rifle on his person. Minutes before President Trump began his speech, members of the Federal Protective Service, an agency tasked with protecting federal buildings, were alerted about an arrest of a protester with a gun on his waistband. And during the speech, the weapons-related arrests continued. At 12:13 p.m., United States Park Police arrested a man with a rifle in front of the World War II memorial. These agents remarked on the number of weapons that had been seized that day, speculating that the situation could get worse. With so many weapons found so far, you wonder how many are unknown, one agent wrote at 12:36 p.m. Could be sporty after dark. At 12:47 p.m., another agent responded, no doubt. The people at the Ellipse said they are moving to the Capitol after the POTUS speech. As the documents we received make clear, the Secret Service was aware of weapons possessed by those gathered around in D.C. as early as the evening before. Take this document, for instance, which details multiple arrests in the crowds demonstrating on January 5th. Those arrests were for weapons offenses, handguns, high-capacity feeding devices, ammunition. What the Secret Service saw on the 6th was entirely consistent with the violent rhetoric circulating in the days before the joint session on pro-Trump websites, at times amplified by the president's own advisors. On one of these sites, as you've heard, one of those was called the Donald.win. The subcommittee has obtained a text message that Jason Miller, a senior communications advisor, sent to Mark Meadows less than a week before January 6th. I got the base fired up, he wrote in all caps. He sent a link to this page on the Donald.win. The linked webpage had comments about the joint session in Congress on January 6th. Take a look at some of those comments. Gallows don't require electricity.
The very thing that George Washington warned them about parties, that they are to be encouraged, but like any fire, watched carefully, lest it burst and consume the whole house. Got the base fired up? Fired up to do what? To tear up their own house. They went in there and smeared boo-boo all over the walls, urinated on the floor, and everything in the House of Representatives, the People's House. You know, they called it the People's House, but they sure didn't treat it like they were the people whose house it was. Huh? Do you walk into your house and pull your pants down and boo-boo on the floor, and then take it and smear it on the wall? That's what dogs do. If you ain't careful, he'll come in your house and boo-boo all over your floor and urinate on your floor. And cats and stuff, tear your walls and stuff up. That's the way animals do in your house. Is that right? See, they couldn't claim that they believed that's the people's house because nobody would do their own house like that. Now, would they? And guess what really told on? They had the Confederate flag walking through there. Last time the Confederate flag was flying over the United States, and it was back in what was that? 1862. When they raised that flag as their flag and Jefferson Davis as their president and said to hell with Abraham Lincoln? Huh? To show you the dummies didn't even have sense enough to know what talking about this day 1776 moment. No, it's your 1862 moment. And you've been trying to overthrow this government ever since. They abolished slavery and you had to do your own work. You always got people who just too lazy to work for themselves. They think that they should have others do their work for them. You always got people who believe in stuff like that. For the past 6,000 years, you've had that. It went on a long time, even before they got here. And that's why we made them, so that we could finally show everybody what that leads to and see who would still choose it even when they see that it leads to ruin. So, this is the last time we will have any kind of people like this on our planet. They don't believe me. Just wait.
If the filthy commie maggots try to push their fraud through, there will be hell to pay. Our lawmakers in Congress can leave one of two ways. One, in a body bag. Two, after rightfully certifying Trump the winner. Mr. Miller claimed that he had no idea about the hundreds of comments like these.
How was they going to certify Trump as the winner? The false electors. See, all of them knew about it. A whole lot of them knew about the plan. Do you understand? It was a conspiracy.
In the link that he sent to Mark Meadows. If I had seen something like that, I probably would have flipped it to some of the White House. If I had seen something of that nature, I would have said we got to flag this for Secret Service or something like.
This man here just lying.
In the link that he sent to Mark Meadows.
Just a moment, let me get his name.
Take a look at some of those comments. Gallows don't require electricity. If the filthy commie maggots try to push their fraud through, there will be hell to pay. Our lawmakers in Congress can leave one of two ways. One, in a body bag. Two, after rightfully certifying Trump the winner. Mr. Miller claimed that he had no idea about the hundreds of comments like these in the link that he sent to Mark Meadows. If I had seen something like that, I probably would have flipped it to some of the White House. If I had seen something of that nature, I would have said we got to flag this for Secret Service or something of that nature. But the Trump administration was aware of this type of violent rhetoric prior to January 6th. In fact, as we have seen, the Secret Service and other agencies knew of the prospect of violence well in advance of the president's speech at the ellipse. Despite this, certain White House and Secret Service witnesses previously testified that they had received no intelligence about violence that could have potentially threatened any of the protectees on January 6th, including the Vice President. Evidence strongly suggests that this testimony is not credible, and the committee is reviewing additional material from the Secret Service and other sources. The Secret Service was monitoring this kind of online activity and was sharing and receiving the results of that effort. They work closely with other agencies, sharing intelligence about the joint session of Congress derived from social media and other sources. The same day Jason Miller sent his text message, agents received reports about a spike in activity on another platform called Parler. This was December 30th. In this email, an agent received a report noting a lot of violent rhetoric on Parler directed at government people and entities, including Secret Service protectees. One of these protectees was Vice President Pence, perhaps the primary target of President Trump's pressure campaign in the days leading up to January 6th. The day before the joint session, on January 5th, Secret Service was aware of increased chatter focused on Vice President Pence, in particular, whether he would do what President Trump wanted him to do, reverse the results of the election in the joint session the next day, January 6th. On the morning of the 6th, agents received alerts of online threats that Vice President Pence would be, quote, a dead man walking if he doesn't do the right thing. Another agent reported, quote, I saw several other alerts saying they will storm the Capitol if he doesn't do the right thing. The anger reflected in these postings was obvious, the man at the center of the storm on January 6th, President Trump. On the evening of January 5th, President Trump gathered a few of his communications staffers in the Oval Office. The door was open, allowing the president and others assembled there to hear the sounds of the crowd gathered at Freedom Plaza just a few blocks from the White House. President Trump could tell that his supporters were riled up. Here again is Judd Deere, a deputy White House press secretary, describing the president's reaction.
He fairly quickly moved to how fired up the crowd is, or was going to be.
And what did he say about it?
Just that they were fired up, they were angry, they feel like the election's been stolen, that the election was rigged, that he went on and on about that for a little bit.
Yes, the president knew the crowd was angry because he had stoked that anger. He knew that they believed that the election had been rigged and stolen because he had told them falsely that it had been rigged and stolen. And by the time he incited that angry mob to march on the Capitol, he knew they were armed and dangerous. All the better to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. At this point in our meeting, we'll take a brief recess. Pursuant to the order of the committee today, the chair declares the committee in recess for a period of approximately 10 minutes.
In the morning of January 6th, President Trump knew that the crowd would.
Chair recognizes the gentleman from California, Mr. Aguilar, for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the morning of January 6th, President Trump knew that the crowd was angry. He knew that they were armed and dangerous, and he knew that they were going to the Capitol. It's important to understand the lengths the president was willing to go to physically be at the Capitol because it was part of his strategy to disrupt Congress and to stay in power. As the time for the Ellipse rally approached, an email was circulated among intelligence officials, including Secret Service intelligence official, attaching communications among rallygoers that specifically contemplated violence. Trump has given us marching orders. One post on the Donald.win wrote, basically, if you're east of the Mississippi, you can and should be there. Advance on the Capitol. Keep your guns hidden. Don't fuck around. Full kits, 180 rounds minimum for main rifle, another 50 for sidearm per person. What is clear from this record is that the White House.
Now, all of you who are watching this, you know there's language sometimes used that we don't use. So, you know, if it's inappropriate, you know, it is inappropriate for children to hear. So let's make sure that we keep eye on that. This is for mature audiences, but this is a hearing. This is evidence of what people were saying and doing to try to destroy this government. And so it's going to get raw.
House had more than enough warning to warrant stopping any plan for an Ellipse rally and certainly for stopping any march to the Capitol. And as evidence from our prior hearings has suggested, the president was aware of this information. But despite awareness of the potential for violence and weapons among the crowd, the Ellipse event nevertheless went forward. And Donald Trump instructed the angry crowd, some of whom were armed.
He encouraged them. He said, you have to fight like hell. That's what he said. And he had said, be there, it will be wild. He didn't say it will be peaceful. He said it will be wild. So that he can declare martial law and stop everything, the election count and all of that. Do you understand? Okay.
March to the Capitol. As my colleague Mr. Schiff just described, the Secret Service reported that thousands in the crowd near the Washington Monument would not enter the rally area because magnetometers used in screening attendees would detect any prohibited items they carried. Mr. Trump knew this. His Secret Service had told him about it that morning. Even in spite of these warnings, Cassidy Hutchinson overheard the president say this shortly before he took stage.
He wanted it full, and he was angry that we weren't letting people through the mags with weapons, what the Secret Service deemed as weapons and our weapons. I was in the vicinity of a conversation where I overheard the president say something to the effect of, you know, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Take the effing mags away. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here. Let the people in. Take the effing mags away.
And when he went on stage, President Trump himself.
See? He knew and he wanted them to take them weapons up there. Do you understand? They not here to hurt me. Take the mags away. The magnetometers to search people when they come in. Huh? And I'm going to tell you something else. The Secret Service are not even supposed to let people come around the president other than themselves with weapons. If you ain't in the Secret Service, you ain't got no business with no weapons at a place where the president is. Huh? But here the president himself saying, let them people in. Which tells you he knows who they are and what they are there for because he told them what to do and what to bring. Armed and ready, Mr. President.
Asked law enforcement to let his supporters in the rally site.
And I'd love to have, if those tens of thousands of people would be allowed, the military, the Secret Service, and we want to thank you, and the police, law enforcement, great, you're doing a great job. But I'd love it if they could be allowed to come up here with us. Is that possible? Can you just let them come up, please?
President Trump then told his supporters to march to the Capitol. Let's pause at this point to consider President Trump's state of mind, his motivation at this moment. By that point, it was known to Secret Service that members of the crowd were armed. President Trump had been told, and there was no doubt that President Trump knew what he was going to do, sending an angry mob, a number of whom were clad in tactical gear and military garb, armed with various weapons, to the Capitol. There's no scenario where that action is benign. And there's no scenario where an American president should have engaged in that conduct. It did not matter whether President Trump believed the election had been stolen or not. This could not be justified on any basis for any reason. You may also recall testimony from our summer hearings regarding Mr. Trump's efforts to lead the mob to the Capitol himself in his angry altercation in the presidential SUV when the Secret Service told him it was far too dangerous for him to go. As we detailed in testimony from the Metropolitan Police and White House personnel during our July 21st hearing, information about the altercation was widely known. So widely known that one former White House employee with national security responsibilities explained that this information was in fact water cooler talk in the White House complex. As that professional told us, they remember hearing in the days after January 6th how angry the president was when he was in a limo that afternoon. That professional also testified that they were specifically informed of the president's irate behavior in the SUV by Mr. Ornato in Mr. Ornato's office. It was Mr. Engel with Mr. Ornato in that office. They'd expressed to me that the president was irate, on the drive up. Mr. Engel did not deny the fact that the president was irate. That, of course, corresponds closely with the testimony you saw this summer from Cassidy Hutchinson, a Metropolitan Police officer who was in the motorcade, and from multiple sources. Additionally, after concluding its review of the voluminous additional Secret Service communications from January 5th and January 6th,
the reason he was irate was because he wanted to get up there and set the final piece to his plan with the murder of them. They was going to murder them Secret Service men. That's what Overwatch was for, the snipers. And he was going to declare martial law after shooting a few more people in the crowd. Do you understand? Then he was going to get order in a little while, and then say Antifa did it. Do you understand? And we're going to have an investigation to see who was at the root of this. That's what his plan was. That's why he had to declare martial law, you see. You got to find out who's behind all of this. He'd already told you that the election was fraudulent. Now he's got proof of it. Which ain't proof at all. But, that's the way his sick mind was thinking. And them crazy folks that was up there didn't realize that every one of them was expendable. Do you understand? Well, anyway, tell you what. This Monday, I'm not going to keep you late. Wednesday, we'll go through some more of this. Okay? All right. Now, anybody have anything they wanted to ask me? Now you see why I don't do no private teaching with people. Sometimes people just, something hit them and say, well, let me call this man. And so. It's not that they really interested. They just ain't got nothing better to do. So they call me up just to shoot the breeze and say they talk to me and all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in that. If you really wanted to talk to me, you would have came into this class and not pretended that you wanted to talk to me. You would have talked to me in this class. So, you get on back over there with Farrakhan and all them other fakers. We coming in here to meet. So, any questions or statements? Then may Allah bless us all and keep us safe and in our right minds, who believe in and accept the truth when it hath come to us. And may He grant each of us a peaceful and pleasant night's rest and sleep, and a happy, peaceful, and pleasant morning's rise. Here and everywhere else that those who are believing in and following me. May Allah's Salam Alaikum.
This session is no longer being recorded.